I welcome you all the students, viewers for this course. This course name is Indian philosophy. So introduction to Indian philosophy. Today we will discuss what is Indian philosophy, why we study Indian philosophy, what is there within Indian philosophy. Once you know, so that your anxiety will come to know what is Indian philosophy, why at all there is an importance of Indian philosophy, and still also we are celebrating in many of the systems of Indian philosophy. So I welcome once again to each one of you to see this, and if you have any queries you can ask me. Now let us discuss first what is Indian philosophy. There may be many questions comes to your mind, like why we should read Indian philosophy, what is there in Indian philosophy, how it is important for us if we at all will read in Indian philosophy. Now coming to the very brief background of this, Indian philosophy in Sanskrit it is always said darshan, deals with various philosophical thoughts. There are many schools, they have a different people, therefore they have a different philosophical thoughts of in several traditions. It never developed just once in a particular year. It took several traditions, many years to take place some of the theory in Indian philosophy. So as you find, there are different theoreticians and have their different view also, because they think in a different way, and certainly since different system developed in different period of time, all their thinking process gets changed. Now you can see my slides, as I have seen that Indian philosophy in philosophy bracket darshan deals with various philosophical thoughts of many several traditions, those originated in Indian subcontinent, including I say Hindu philosophy, Buddhism and Jainism. All these three you find in a particular tradition it takes to develop, and many people also involved for developing all these philosophy. Now question comes, can we have a tentative idea when really it is developed? So if this is the question, then the answer way, there is no particular year people say that this is the fixed year, from this to that period Indian philosophy developed. But however, the traditional people and getting some of the idea from the old scripture, people said that it is from 1500 BC to few centuries AD. So this is the time period where all the philosophy slowly developed, and many people act as a philosopher, they given their opinion and view. But you find there is a one commonality among all the systems in Indian philosophy, that is unity. Whatever people say about the uniformity of nature, about the existence of human being, about the life of a human being or an animal, how to protect us from the suffering world, and all these things, behind that there is a common essence point, that is called understanding the ultimate reality. What is the ultimate reality behind us? How the world comes to the existence? All this together, though they have a different view, but certainly they have a unity in understanding. At least certainly they have a unity to address a particular question, that is what is a reality? What is the essence of a reality? What a human being is? Who is a human being? All these things will come together. So all are interested in all the systems, trying to establish their own opinion about all these systems. Now since there are different systems and developed in different times, people involved in these systems must have different opinions on an idea or a concept or an event. Therefore they have a different opinion, different understanding of a particular concept. However, they are dealing with a particular concept or a particular notion. Now coming to the next slide, as you can see, Indian philosophical system. Now once you can understand this diagram, I believe you can also understand what are the systems available in Indian philosophy, and particularly what are the development happens in the long run of Indian philosophy. Indian philosophy divided into two categories in broadly. One is heterodox system. What it means is that those who accept Vedas, because as you know that Vedas are the very old scriptures, and whatever we learn today also there are many things we find in Veda and even Upanishads. Heterodox system are those who don't accept Veda. They said that we know that there is a existence scripture, Veda exists, but we don't accept. The reason are we will be discussing in the next class or next to next classes when the time will come. But now for your one understanding, heterodox are those who don't believe the existence of Veda. They said that Veda has no meaning for us. However, in the other side if you find that there are orthodox system, those strongly believe that there are existence of Veda, and whatever we do it is inherited from the Veda, and also people if believe on rebirth or reincarnation or believe on their karma theory, that means if you do good karma in this life, next life you can born as a human being or as something like Rusi or something. So that if you do bad karma also, next life you will go for a it's a life of animal or something lower creature. So therefore people who believe in Veda, these people will be known as orthodox people. So orthodox people, in other words, people can also termed as astika because they accept Veda. In case of heterodox people, it is known as nastika because they don't accept Veda as the scriptures. Now if you see further division of that, under heterodox you find three systems. One is Charvaka, who thinks that there is only society called materialistic society. Since we born in this earth, we must have our leisure life, we must enjoy all these material goods, we must have ornaments, everything, whatever the best pleasure we can get it. That is the belief of the system called Charvaka system. If you see also another point, Jainism and Buddhism, these are also two systems comes under heterodox. They do not believe or they do not accept Vedas. However, they always believe on kind of happiness in life, how a person can get freedom from the sufferings, all the pains we are getting in human life, because as we know there will be no such man can claim that I am a man having without any suffering or pain in my whole life. If this is the case, the Buddhism and Jainism, they simply claim that. If this is so, then we try to get happiness in our life, and how to get it? We must free from all the sufferings, and for doing that, it does not happen in overnight. There is some practice we have to do it, and all this practice they said in a different way in the different context. So that I will be going to discuss when we will be discussing Buddhism and Jainism as a separate subject for in this syllabus. Now if you see the orthodox system for you, now there are 6 systems. Now you can see that Yoga, Sankhya, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. Uttara Mimamsa is after this Mimamsa. When Mimamsa ends, some people developed, or some of the predecessors, they developed this Uttara Mimamsa, is known as Vedanta, where Shankara, Ramanuja, Vallabhacharya, all people will appear. But if you see that chronologically, this orthodox system forms a group or a pairs. The pairs like this: Yoga, Sankhya, Nyaya, Vaisheshika and Mimamsa, Vedanta. So there are 3 pairs you get it in orthodox system, and you find 3 different systems in heterodox system. Therefore we find 6 systems in Indian philosophy in a large or in a broader framework. Again I must tell you that when I said that Yoga and Sankhya, it is a pair, Yoga always tells about the practical aspect and the way the people will do the practice. But in other case, Sankhya, if you find in Sankhya philosophy, always deals with the theoretical aspect. It focuses on the theoretical approach. So in all these cases, if you find Nyaya also, Nyaya talks about the practical aspect, whereas the Vaisheshika as a system talks about the theoretical aspect. It focuses basically what are the theory behind that. In the same way, you find Mimamsa is a very practical aspect, whereas Vedanta is a theoretical aspect. Vedanta, just for your own understanding or anxiety, I will say that in Vedanta, Shankara said that only one Ishvara, there will be no further Ishvara. On his account, on his words, he said that one Ishvara, Ditya Nasti. That means if at all you are accepting something, it is only one across the religion. You go to Hindu religion, Christian religion, Zoroastrian religion, even Muslim religion, any religion you go, only one God. He is the supreme being. In that way, Vedanta also expressed, right? It is a basically theoretical aspect. But in case of Mimamsa, they say that where is God, why God, who is God. So it is a kind of practical aspect. There it is a practical aspect of defining God or acceptance of Veda, whereas in case of Vedanta, it is a theoretical approach. Now coming to the next slide. I said that now you understood there are 6 systems in Indian philosophy. Out of 6, 3 systems comes under heterodox, who does not accept Vedas, and another systems in a 3 pairs you can say, which comes under orthodox system, who accept Veda. Now we find what are the common features, so that you can have at least a very blue sketching in your mind or a background kind of understanding what are the system is going to tell about. So therefore I am saying common features of Indian philosophical systems. Here I would like to bring your notice even that when I say common features of Indian philosophical system, I never said Indian philosophical all the systems. What I mean is that when we are describing some of the common points, do not think that that common points we find across orthodox and heterodox system. What I am saying, there may be cases that there are some commonality find between 2 systems, 3 systems. There are also cases that some of the commonality find between 4 systems, but do not consider whenever we are discussing the points one after another, do not consider that whatever points we are discussing find in all the systems. So therefore, this is your understanding. You should be clear and confirm from this point, so that you will not be confused in later period. Now you see that spiritual orientation. What is a spiritual orientation? You might have gone to many of this, this Rusis, take some of this advice from him, or her, or anywhere you go for a spiritual say temple or say church, anywhere you pray and all this is spiritual, because you think that this is the Almighty, where if I can pray something can be, I can gain it, isn't it? If this is case, then there are other systems, it is both heterodox and orthodox, somehow or other they accept that there is a spirit. Here when I am saying spirit, do not understand as spirit as a God, spirit as a power. That means they said that all human being has a power. That means God in the form of some or other form exists in every human being's life. Therefore, we are able to think, we are able to act, we are able to see, we are able to do all the things, rational things which other animals cannot do. It is just because of God's grace we are able to do it. That is called spiritual orientation. So while doing that, they are also explaining that how soul exists. See, we are a human being. What is a human being above all? Human being is not just the parts of body and mind. If this is so, somebody says that your hand is a part, your leg is also a part. If you just detach from that, or if by accident you get some operation and somehow unfortunately it seems to be detached, still you will be a human being, people will consider as a human being. Then what is a human being at all? It is a body or mind or something else? This question comes repeatedly in all the systems. They say that human being also the major part, or the very very subtle part which is not visible, that is called soul. Every human being has a soul, and what is that soul or self? That to be explained further. They say that it is because of the self we are able to speak out, we are able to hear. If self is not properly functioning, then we are just material like a table and chair. When a human being died and nothing remains, in that time the soul disappears, the soul detaches from the body. Therefore, after the death the body becomes as material as like table and chair. You hit the body, still the body has no reaction. Therefore, they say that all the system try to argue in their own way that there is a soul exists in human being. Even all the animals who live in this earth, who do some kind of activity and action in this earth. So this is the way we understand what is a human soul and what is self. Now if you ask, now I believe that there are some question maybe comes to your mind saying that where the self is locating. For example, if somebody asks where is my right hand, I can show my right hand, but if somebody asks where is your soul locating, then I could not able to see it, then I could not able to show it even. See, this is my soul, but I can able to explain it, what is the soul I mean, and where it is really find, what is the use of its soul. So in this way we have to understand. That means all the Indian philosophy system trying to say that if there is something existence, it not only find in case of physical form, apart from that physical form also there are many subtle things which also equally important and also find in all these creatures or animals or human being inside that, and also act very prominently like as other physical part of your body. So that is kind of spiritual orientation that all trying to explain in their own way. Now coming to the next point, that is closer to life. When you say closer to life, all the orthodox system, they believe, as I said, the practice of Vedanta, they believe the practice of let us say Veda, Gita, Upanishad, all these scriptures they believe, and they also think that whatever action we are doing certainly at present, suppose I am able to speak something, I am able to identify something, it is already there in Gita and Upanishad. Though it is a old scripture, still some essence we are now getting it. And further, when he is saying that closing to the life, that means whatever we do in our day to day activities, what we are supposed to do, and if something we have done wrong, also we can identify, yes, this is not the perfect way of doing. Suppose we are not respecting to our elders, that means it's somewhere we are finding fault with ourselves, that yes, this is not the ethical practice. And that is why all the scriptures in Indian systems is close to our life. Now people say that now it is a life of modern life, having 21st century, everything works in a just click way in internet. Still whatever we are doing, somehow or other it is find in a hidden form in Gita, Upanishad and all these older scriptures. While saying that, when orthodox people are claiming that all these are found in Gita and Upanishad and all these old scripture, they know that, fully aware that these scriptures are not based on the words, but rather these scriptures are based on the intuition. If this is so, the further claim that yes, we all sages, we all human beings are the seeker of this intuition, because once we get the intuition or the power of intuition, we can able to know what is going to happen in future and what we are doing now. As a result, we will be considered as a human being, and at a result, if you know that this is the suffering, this is the pain, these are the attachment to the worldly affairs, so we can try to retrieve from that attachment or say worldly pleasure. As a result, we get happiness in our life. So these are all somehow comes to closer to our life, because day to day life we are facing many problems, and as a result, if we do that kind of practice for a yoga, practice for a concentration, all this helps us to not only see the life in a very closer perspective, rather to understand many things in a very better way. Now I am reading out for your benefit. The classics of the Indian philosophy, the Gita, the Upanishad are not dissociated from human life. We have learnt many things from these classics. Since we learn from our past, hence past cannot be ignored or overlooked while performing the present action. So that all I have elaborated in a very little manner. When all things will be getting more discussed and with few examples in our day to day life, when we will be discussing the Vedanta philosophy in a very clear manner or in other orthodox systems. Okay, coming to the next slides. Now if you see the spiritual dissatisfaction, what is the spiritual dissatisfaction? See, as I said, I am again repeating, if you can now picturize what I have done, this the philosophical system, orthodox and heterodox. Heterodox will be left side and orthodox will be right side. He is saying that spiritual dissatisfaction, the heterodox people very clearly say that we do not accept Veda, nothing lies in Veda, but still we get in a spiritual life. How we will get it? Then orthodox people ask, how you get it? If you do not accept Veda, do not accept God, how you can get it? Here if you find Buddhism, Jainism and Charvaka, they said that we all are believer of spirit. Spirit here for us is a power, is an achievement, the goal that we are seeking for. As Buddha says that there is a noble truth, 4 noble truths, right? Buddha says that the whole world is full of pain, full of suffering, full of misery, but there are every reasons to have all these effects like sufferings, pain and seeking for pleasures. If you can know the root causes where the pain lies, then somehow or other you understand this is the causes and I have to address to that causes, so that this causes will be eradicated, as a result the effect will also eradicated. Some people have a cravings towards getting, let us say, promotion. Suppose as a student also you must have a cravings that without studying anything you will get pass mark. Even also you can also achieve many things without doing anything, isn't it? But there Buddha said that without labor, without effort, nothing will be available at free of cost. If you do also, in later period you face problems, and that problem nobody can help, because you have not understood middle steps of that. So therefore I am saying that there are many sufferings, many pains in whole our life. What you have to do is that you have to know what is the root causes of all the sufferings. If that is the spirit, if you know this, then you can eradicate all the suffering in your whole life, and hence you will have a happy life, because you are detached from all this worldly pleasurely life. However, you will get pleasure once you will find yourself as a reunion. You find your mind is concentration, you identify what is your soul, where is your soul, who you are, all this you can define yourself. Therefore this kind of pleasure you will get it, which is never find in case of worldly pleasure. Worldly pleasure, what I mean is that when you are very pre-planning for getting a, let us say, good bikes, good motorcycles, luxury items, all this, it's more than basic necessities, it's called worldly pleasures. Now if you read that one, that although Buddha and Jaina do not prescribe the spiritual activities as Astika do, but certainly they aim at for the optimistic approach and removal of pessimism. in majority, in most of the cases we find them moving towards happiness of life. They said also they recommend we get happiness in our life, provided we must know that where happiness lies. Until unless we know where happiness lies, we cannot get the happiness. Rather, we ignorantly consider the unhappiness as an happiness. This is the spirit of heterodox system. Now, if you see the last point, that liberation is the ultimate end. What it says is that, I am reading for you, that knowledge in Indian philosophy means divine transformation of life and emancipation from worldly misery. The second, it is spiritual stage where human beings found themselves over and above the earthly attachment. Now, I am elaborating further for your own understanding. Liberation is the ultimate end. People say that, oh, at last I got liberated. Suppose you are trying to do something and at last you could able to do it. You say that, oh my God, at last I got liberation. That means everything is over for you. Now, if this is you understood, now I am bringing that context to the philosophical domain in Indian philosophy. What it is saying that, Indian philosophical system saying that the whole life of a human being, when a baby burns, starts suffering because of many causes. It is not because of him or her, or because of maybe some social conditions, cultural atmosphere, even the religious atmosphere, many other conditions, economic background, and many other conditions, n number of conditions that you know, and it varies from person to person. If this is so, then he says that once you know also the root causes, how to get liberation from that. What is the path of liberation? What is liberation means that you identify the real causes and try not to do further, so that you get liberated. To do the liberation, there are many systems prescribed, there are many ways and differently. This happens just because, as I said, Indian philosophical system never pop up in a 1 year itself. It took so much or several years of traditions to come up, right? And there are many people contributed for a particular system, and henceforth depend on their background, depend on their understanding, they differ in opinion from person to person, even from system to system. But however, the common essence lies that they all are trying to get liberate from suffering, liberate from all these pains, liberate from all this seeking of this material pleasure, and liberation from the whole world. That yes, I have a happy life because I liberate from all this. I do not need all this material attachment. I as a human being, I need a basic necessity for my survival, and I am happy to that. The common ethical point what they want to highlight here is that suppose you are doing some job, you should be happy with that. Suppose you are getting something, you should be happy of that, but your work should be continued further. If you think that in a short term you will achieve many things, then you will fall in the trap that you will be doing some kind of unethical practice which leads you to get so much problematic in your life in the future time. So therefore, try to be happy what you are first. Once you will be happy, feel happy within yourself, so that this is one of the liberation, you get it. Once you can do that, you will feel really your existence and you are yourself as a very pleasurely and happy person in this world, so that all suffering you never find in your whole life. Now coming to the next slides, yeah, this is an ignorance. I said that before this slides also, I said that because of ignorance many people suffer. Even there are many people in this world that do not know they are ignorant. The reason behind that, the reason is very clear, because they may not face many of the situations which they are supposed to face, and also they are ignorant because they may not see the world in a very complete form, and henceforth their ignorance is a very crude way. If they will do some mistakes also, they do not know what they have to do further, but still this, to hide that they do further mistakes. As a result, what happens in future, they will be go on doing many mistakes because of their ignorance, and it is just because of the ignorance they could not identify even what they have done wrong. If they could have identified, in future they could not repeat the same thing. But as a result, if somebody can do that, somebody can properly identify what the unethical practices he or she is doing, what is my ignorance, where I have to learn further, where I have to understand further. If somebody can do that, in future, so these are the things, these are the miseries, these are the sufferings never appears. So ignorance is the root cause of all suffering. If we are knowledgeable enough, if we can understand what really lies for your suffering, for the causes of suffering, then hopefully you can eradicate that. That is a ignorance. There are many people also ignorantly say that we do not accept anything, although they do not know about that thing. It will be always better to know something, to understand something, then you say that with your logical argument and also rational argument, say that we are not accepting because of so and so reason. In that case it is completely acceptable. But if you say that anything will be fine before you and say that I am not accepting, in this case it is just a fail from your side. That means you are ignorant and you could not able to identify that you are doing some ignorant thing. Henceforth I suggest, and also all the Indian philosophical systems subscribe, that first of all as a human being we should know that where we are ignorant, where we need to develop, where we need to have more understanding. If you can do that, then the life will be very peaceful and we will get a very spiritual life. Now if you can see my slide over here, that many people cannot even identify their ignorance as ignorance. As a result they suffer in their life in various ways. Buddhism and Vedanta philosophy, they find that what are the root causes of suffering, and they also claim that it is a ignorance, because of ignorance we suffer, and they also argue that how to eradicate from that ignorance. Now practice of yoga for moksha, when you have you know that you have done so much things in your life and you also get some pleasure in your life, but at the last you realize that all these are just myth, it is no reality find in that. So therefore all the systems they try to convince that there is a moksha, everyone tries to achieve it, everyone tries to get it in a different form, not in a same form. All the systems have a different opinion on trying to get moksha. When he said that we all are seeker of moksha, then question arises, how will get moksha? Is it possible? What is it really about moksha? Then they said that this practice of yoga can leads to us to get moksha. Yoga is a particular school of thought. When we will be discussing yoga philosophy, we will be discussing there are different stages through which a human being should go through. As a result, the last stage human being can get moksha, and moksha may be in this life, it is not after our death. The liberation people can also get in this life if somebody can understand what is the real cause of suffering and how to get moksha, what the spiritual practice one is supposed to do to get moksha, and how to know that which stage he or she is and what are the stages supposed to be crossed to get the moksha. If this is all the case, then a person will be very, very happy enough in this world, and all these will be found in the discussion of yoga philosophy, that practice of yoga for moksha. Then it said that the practice of yoga helps for removing the psychological and spiritual ignorance of individuals. The eightfold yoga that we will be discussing in the yoga philosophy, when we will discuss yoga philosophy of Patanjali, regards by all the systems. Yoga, whatever described, the practice of yoga, all the systems somehow or other respect to that, and though not accepted each steps, but somehow or other, whether in a gross form or mild form, accept that some kind of yoga we must do it, we must practice it to achieve our goal, to achieve our aim, and also be satisfied with ourselves. Now the last point that you can see in my slide is that to bring the positive changes in life is the aim of spiritual practice. What is the positive changes? Because as we know that now we are not able to concentrate particularly. Henceforth, since we are not able to concentrate particularly, our mind is fluctuating from one to another. As a result, we could not concentrate on a particular point, and since we could not able to do that, the achievement for us, the attainment for us, it is a very, very minor one, and as a result we could not able to properly know what we are doing it. While doing a particular thing, sometimes our mind diverted to another things, and it happens because we are associating with different activities. Here you go saying that if you do some kind of practice, you could able to concentrate in a particular task, though you have equally other important tasks are lies with you, and if you do slowly one after another, the system prescribe that everything you can do on time, and for that only you need a time management skills. If you can develop the time management skills and you can concentrate on a particular task, you can able to do it, and all the things will be for easier for you. but if you cannot concentrate on a particular task, everything will get diverted. As a result, even a single thing you cannot do successfully. Now comes to the next slides. The psychological biases, I am just reading out first, then I will be discussing further. From Buddha to Patanjali, Buddhism as well as also yoga philosophy, even Shankara and Ramanuja, who also comes under Vedanta philosophy, all are emphasized the psychological aspect of philosophy. Yogic exercises are prescribed to cure the physical and mental maladies and to concentrate our mind. In Vedanta, the analysis of different stages of human consciousness is found. These are Jagrata, Swarupa, Susupti and Turiya. Now I will be describing what Vedanta said about the 4 stages of human consciousness. The first one, he said that Jagrata, that means when you are waking up, when you are alert, you should know that you are alert and you are doing things consciously. Then when you are in say Swapna, that means when you slept, that is a stage of let us subconscious stage. It is not an unconscious stage, rather it is a subconscious stage. That means you know that you are dreaming something. How it is a subconscious stage? This is a subconscious stage because after your dream, when you wake up, when you alert, when you conscious, you can able to recapitulate some of your dreams, though if not very clearly in an analytical form or a sequential form, but still some sort of dream you can recapitulate. And this happens once somebody will be in subconscious stage. And as I said, you are in conscious when you are alert. So these are 2 steps. The third steps will be Susupti, that means when you have a sleep, dreamless sleep, that means you sleep and wake up and you said that, oh my God, what I had a sleep in the last night, I did not know anything. That means you are dog tired and you slept. That is also called unconsciousness. It is a stages for unconsciousness. The last one is called Turiya, where it is a transcendental consciousness. There you feel yourself ahead of this earth, you find yourself, your existence will be ahead. That means you are finding yourself in the air because you detach from all suffering, pains, attachment, everything. You are reunion with the God or the spirit. Therefore this is a higher level of consciousness. This consciousness is known as Turiya. So all these things clearly discussed in Vedanta philosophy. Here he is saying that psychological basis means first you need to control our mind, because it is the mind operates everywhere. If your mind is able to understand or able to grasp something correctly, hopefully you can do many things in a better way. But in the other hand, if your mind will be a very fluctuating one and diverted one, you could not able to do even a particular thing, even a very easy thing in a successful way. So therefore Vedanta, even yoga philosophy, in Buddhism, all these systems somehow in their own way try to prescribe some of these ideas, some of these suggestions for all human beings, for all social life, to get concentrate on particular task and how to do that, and as a result we could able to success all the works that we attached with in our day to day activities. Now coming to the next slides. Synthesis of religion and philosophy. I am just reading for yourself first, then I will be analyzing it. The common goal of philosophy and religion are supposed to be the transformation of human life, emancipation from worldly miseries. The second point is the concept of dharma is a debatable topic of both philosophy and religion. What it is saying that when you talk about religion and philosophy, you find this prevails across the system, whether it is orthodox or heterodox system. What they say is that the transformation of life, how we can have a happy life, how we can have a very pleasure life, how can have a life of without suffering, how can we have an intellectual life. All these we will have a discussion when you will find all the systems. All they are trying in their best to draw some of the conclusion how to get happiness in life. The second point, as I said, that emancipation from worldly pleasures or worldly miseries. In the world there are many causes, as a result we suffer. However, the suffering can be eradicated because of some of the practices, and if we do that practices, we will be in a better way, that yes, now all the suffering removed from me or removed from us, and we are now a happy life. So all this discussion you find when you find the discussion on philosophy and religion and how they are intertwined with each other. Can philosophy will be described without religion? can religion be explained without philosophy? This is the common theme of some of the Indian philosophical systems. Now, coming to the last slide, that intellectualism, last point of this slide, that intellectualism, you find, if you read that, or since you will be involving in this course, if you see my other slides also in the next to next classes, you find that there is an intellectualism, rigorous intellectualism in Indian philosophical system. Because though there are many systems, though there are many people involved, still there are some commonality. So far we have discussed. Now I am saying it is because of their intellectualism, because of their intellectual rigorousness, one systems somehow does not agree with other systems theory, and for that they are giving a strongly a very logical and rational grounds for that, and many cases when they are rejecting to others theory also getting defended by that systems. I am giving an example. Suppose Nyaya said something that the existence of the whole world because of the atoms, nothing else, whereas Vedanta said that it is not the case, it is because of the God the whole world exists, and they put their own argument. However, Nyaya philosophy stick to their own point and strongly say that no, we do not accept or do not subscribe Vedanta or your point because of so and so origin. So in this case you find there is an intellectualism, that means a theory developed, then it is criticized and further developed and further developed. So intellectual rigorousness also find in some of the systems, and henceforth you find that all the people who contribute in this, all the systems are all intellectual. Now coming to the next slides. Yeah, synthetic approach. I will read. Indian philosophical systems, while addressing to the individual's development, also deal with social issues of everyone's concern and their impacts on earthly life. While recommending an individual for spiritual practices, they also suggest some good practices for social reforms. The third point, thus their concern is not only for individuals' spiritual attainment, worldly achievement and salvation, but also spiritual transformation of society. Indian system is a total, both heterodox system and orthodox system. What they tries to is saying that we are not trying to address to a particular individual. Of course, when we are trying to a particular individual, since individual belong to a society, it is about the society. However, they strongly claim that when we are prescribing some of the good practices for the individual, we are also suggesting that some of the good practices for the societal reforms, societal changes and societal environmental condition, how to protect the environment, what are the practices we should do, how the society really helps us somebody's growth, progress, understanding, even many of the issues involved in society. It is a different of religion, culture, all things will be there in a society. So therefore, all the system tries to develop some of the argument on the societal reforms, how to really trash the issue in society, how to really say something about the society. As a result, society get developed, and since human beings residing in that society also can benefit from that, and hence they can have a intellectual rigors for understanding many more issues, and as a result the ignorance from their side will be removed. Now this dynamism and faith in the past, there are 2 points that now I am going to discuss. What is the dynamism? Every system have their own dynamism, because they understand the systems who developed. It is not one person developed the systems, though there is a founder of certainly some of the systems. So Sankhya have a one founder, but that founder has not developed whole the Sankhya system. There are many people involved in that Sankhya system. What they are saying is that there are many people have their dynamic thought. It is because of their dynamicness that whole systems get celebrated even in the 21st century. Even in this modern world where technology plays a prominent role, till also we believe many of the concepts, many of the ideas already spoken in a long back by the systems. If you see Gita, Upanishad, Vedanta, all these things, many of the examples also today, the scientists, the engineer, the doctors that give from that Gita and Upanishad, if that is not relevant, so why should they are giving the examples? They think that this is a correct example or this is a best example in this context. Therefore, always they try to quote some of this argument, some of these lines from Gita, Upanishad and some of the old scriptures. So therefore, it is just because of the dynamic in their own nature, henceforth we are celebrating even in the technological and modern world. So therefore, this cannot be ignored and overlooked. I find there are many doctors, physicians, who suppose not to believe on the spirit, but they say that it is everything depends on Almighty. When they said that we are the human being, we have a limited knowledge, we are doing our own best, but we cannot assure about the patient. It is because of the Almighty everything will be happen, or he might be cured soon. So therefore we find that whatever the profession may be, whatever our growth may be and the growing approach may be, the climate where we grow, all things depends on the society, and because of this dynamism of understanding society, all the systems exist and they are having the different approach to the understanding society. Now faith in past, we always believe in the past, because without past, present cannot be constructed. The present action that we do, it is just because of the past. If in the past if you do some mistake, you can identify, if you are intellectual enough to identify, you never repeat it. So therefore past always plays a very vital role. We read history because to know our past. If we know our past clearly, hopefully in this present we never repeat something which is not supposed to do in an unethical way. And also in the future what we are supposed to do, now we are doing it, because the past says that if you do this then the result will be that. So here I would like to highlight the past is also an important one. Now coming to the next slide, the faith in karma. All the systems, that orthodox system, they said that they believe in karma. They say that if we are now having good life in this century, or in this my life or this birth, it is just because of my past karma. And at all if I want to try to have a good life in the next birth, then I must do some good karmas in this life. And hence here I would like to say that it is a theory of influx. If you do good karma, you will have a good result. If you do bad karma, you will have a bad fruit. In that way, as you sow, so you reap. It is a famous definition given by each and everywhere. So therefore he says that if you do bad karma, all the sanskaras will be accumulated. Suppose if you do bad karma in this life, all the bad karmas if you do, and this will be accumulated, and when you will go for the, if you reborn in the next life, all these things will be repeat further, and hence your life will be suffering. I will read it out for you. He said that the past karma are accumulated in the form of impression. In Sanskrit it is called sanskaras, and it directly falls in our next birth. Liberation is nothing but emancipation from the bondage of karma. The last point, different schools have a different prescription for the attainment of liberation. Though all people say about liberation, but they have a different opinion about the liberation. I think the last will be faith in rebirth. When you think about karma, when you state about karma, rebirth has to become there, because theory of karma and rebirth will move hand in hand. Whatever you do karma, now what is your karma? Karma is not prescribed anywhere, that you as a human being or as this adult or a student or a teacher you are supposed to do. Karma has to be decided by you. It is a very contextual or context specific. If you can understand your karma, if you do the karma in a good manner, hopefully you will have a good life. If you cannot do, if you cannot understand what is your karma, you cannot do better. Therefore everyone should follow his or her own karma. If somebody can intellectual enough, somebody is open mind to understand and also tries to see things in a different way, in an intellectual way, hopefully he can identify what is not to be done and what is supposed to be done. Therefore if you do good karma, your life will be very pleasurable one in the next birth. I will read for you. The theory of karmic and the rebirth go hand in hand. Your next birth depends on your present karma. In the same way also I said that the present life also depends on your past karma. Due to different karma, human soul has to be reborn in different bodies. Liberation frees a person from rebirth, except Charvaka. Charvaka, since I like to remind that Charvaka is coming under heterodox. The Charvaka system completely says that we do not believe on rebirth, because once we will get a birth in this life means we should enjoy and get all the pleasure, whatever best we can get it. This is the heterodox approach of living in this earth. So what liberation here is saying is that if you do good karma, there are every chances that you get liberate. Maybe there are some practice that you have to do as Vedanta and Yoga prescribes. If you can do well, and hopefully you will get the liberation in this life, and henceforth your next life, you will seize your next life, not to suffer anyway. That is what they said, that liberation frees a person from the rebirth. if you do not do any karma, bad karma or good karma, suppose if you do all this karma over here and try to get up over here because of your transcendental consciousness or due to some practice of yoga, that means the next time you do not get any birth. Your soul is emancipated. As a human being, you are get liberated. You are being higher than the other people because your understanding intellectually it is much more higher. So this is all about the discussion today, the introduction to Indian philosophy. This is a brief, what I have said is all about brief about the introduction of philosophy, that you find that there are different kind of systems. On one hand people accept Vedas, on the other hand people do not accept Vedas, and again also you find there are many systems or schools. When I say that Indian systems, please also understand as Indian schools. If I say that in Indian philosophical system we have 6 schools, that means it is in your hand. In heterodox you have Charvaka, Jainism, Buddhism. In orthodox you have Nyaya Vaisheshika, Yoga Sankhya and Mimamsa Vedanta. So these are the 6 systems we find in Indian philosophy. So now I believe all these things, now you have understood what are the commonality we find, what are the commonality also we do not find among all the systems, and make sure that when you say that, suppose a particular point, what are the systems they are prescribing that, and what are the system they are not really prescribing for that, and however they are not criticizing to that point. They are saying that okay, we respect to that point. For example, spiritual orientation, for example believe on God. See, many people do not accept believe in God, however they know that there is an existence of God. So this is for today's session, and next we will be discussing the Upanishad and the Gita in the very brief manner. Then we will be discussing one system after another system. We will start with from a heterodox system as a Charvaka. Thank you.